Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something very important right now, something most people misunderstand in relationships, something that creates confusion, overthinking, and unnecessary heartbreak. A lot of women believe that when a man starts to pull back, when he becomes quiet, when his replies get slower, when his presence feels less intense, it automatically means one thing: he is losing interest. You start thinking he is drifting away. You start thinking he is emotionally gone. You start analyzing every message, every delay, every small change in tone. And slowly, a story begins to form in your mind: he doesn't care anymore, he is done, he is walking away. But what if I told you that in many cases, that story is completely wrong? What if I told you that sometimes, when a man pulls back, he is not falling out of love, but actually falling deeper into it? This is where most misunderstandings begin. Because love does not look the same in everyone. And more importantly, love does not express itself the same way in men and women. Many women are taught, directly or indirectly, that love should make a man more expressive, more emotional, more talkative, more present all the time. That if he cares, he will constantly show it in obvious ways. But real emotional behavior is far more complex than that. When a man starts developing deep feelings, something subtle but powerful happens inside him. It is not just attraction anymore. It is not just excitement. It becomes something heavier, something deeper, something that starts to affect how he sees himself and his entire future. And instead of rushing forward, instead of becoming louder or more expressive, he often does something that confuses people the most: he slows down. He becomes quieter. He becomes more thoughtful. He creates space. He steps back for a moment. And from the outside, it looks like distance. But on the inside, it is something completely different. Because when a man truly starts feeling love in a serious way, it does not just stay an emotion in his heart. It spreads into his mind, his identity, his sense of responsibility, and his vision of the future. He does not just think, "I like her." He starts thinking, "What does this mean for my life?" He starts thinking, "Am I ready for this level of emotional responsibility?" He starts thinking, "Can I protect her feelings? Can I stay consistent? Can I be the kind of man she deserves?" And these thoughts do not make him more active. They make him pause. Not because he wants to leave, but because he wants to understand. This pause is not rejection. It is processing. A man's emotional world is often shaped differently from a woman's. From a young age, many men are taught to be strong, controlled, and composed. They are not always encouraged to openly express emotional confusion or vulnerability. So when deep feelings suddenly appear, especially feelings that involve attachment and emotional dependence, it can feel overwhelming. Because love is not light for him. It becomes weight. It becomes responsibility. It becomes something that forces him to look at himself more critically than he ever has before. And this is where the inner conflict begins. On one side, he feels drawn to you. He thinks about you. He misses you. He enjoys your presence. He feels emotionally connected. But on the other side, he starts questioning himself. Am I enough for her? Can I be consistent? Can I give her stability? Can I protect her emotionally? Can I avoid hurting her in the future? These questions do not create closeness in action. They create silence. Because silence becomes his space to think clearly. And while he is thinking, while he is trying to understand the depth of what he feels, he may appear distant from the outside. But distance and disinterest are not the same thing. Distance can come from confusion. Distance can come from emotional overload. Distance can come from the need to understand something that suddenly feels very important. And love, when it becomes real for a man, often feels like exactly that, something important enough to pause for. Now here is something even more important to understand. When a man falls in love deeply, he does not just see the relationship as something emotional or romantic anymore. He starts seeing it through a lens of responsibility. He begins to think long-term. He begins to think about stability, future, commitment, expectations, and emotional security. He starts asking himself not just, "Do I like her?" but, "Can I build a life that is stable enough for her?" And this shift changes everything inside him. Because now he is not just reacting emotionally. He is evaluating himself. And self-evaluation is not loud. It is quiet. It happens in reflection, in silence, in moments where he steps away from external noise so he can understand internal confusion. That is why sometimes a man who is falling in love appears less available, not more. He is not running from you. He is running through his own thoughts. And in that mental space, he is trying to figure out how to become the version of himself that can actually sustain what he is feeling. Because real love for a man is not just about emotion, it is about capability. Another important layer to understand is vulnerability. For many men, vulnerability is not easy. Not because they don't feel deeply, but because they are not always used to expressing what they feel openly. Vulnerability means being seen emotionally without control, without armor, without protection. And when a man starts falling in love, he suddenly finds himself in a position where he cares deeply about someone who can affect his emotional state. That alone can feel intense. Because now his emotions are no longer fully under his control. He thinks about you more than expected. He feels more than he planned. He gets affected by small things more than he thought he would. And this emotional intensity can overwhelm him. So instead of expressing everything immediately, he retreats inward. He creates silence. He creates space. Not to disconnect from you, but to reconnect with himself. Because in that space, he is trying to understand his own emotional reactions. He is trying to figure out why this connection feels so strong. He is trying to understand what this means for his emotional balance. And if he has experienced heartbreak in the past, this process becomes even more delicate. Because now, love is not just exciting, it is also slightly risky. It reminds him of what he could lose. It reminds him of emotional pain he may have experienced before. So he becomes cautious. Not careless. Not distant in a cold way. But careful in a thoughtful way. And caution always looks like slowing down. Now let's go deeper into something very important. A man who is truly losing interest behaves very differently from a man who is falling in love but overwhelmed. A man who is losing interest becomes inconsistent in a different way. He stops trying. He stops checking in. He stops making effort altogether. The emotional thread starts disappearing completely. But a man who is in love, even when he is overwhelmed, does not break the connection. He maintains it in small ways. He may not talk as much, but he still checks on you. He may not express as openly, but he still cares about your well-being. He may not be as present verbally, but he remains present through actions. This is where most confusion happens. Because people often look for love in words. But for many men, love is not primarily spoken, it is demonstrated. It is shown through consistency, attention, and small actions that seem simple but are actually meaningful. A message to check if you reached home. A quiet reminder about something important you mentioned earlier. A small effort to make your day easier. These are not random behaviors. These are emotional signals. And they often become more noticeable when his words become fewer. Because while his external expression slows down, his internal care does not disappear. Now, another reason a man may step back when he is falling in love is the pressure of being enough. When feelings become serious, a man begins to evaluate himself deeply. Not just emotionally, but practically. He starts thinking about stability in life. About financial responsibility. About emotional consistency. About long-term ability to provide support. About whether he can meet expectations that come with a committed relationship. And these thoughts can create pressure. Because now, love is not just a feeling, it is a responsibility he feels towards someone else's emotional world. And when responsibility increases, people naturally slow down. They don't rush. They think. They analyze. They prepare. So while from your perspective it may look like he is pulling away, from his perspective he is trying to prepare himself to show up correctly. He is not avoiding you. He is trying not to fail you. That is a completely different emotional direction. Now let's talk about something very misunderstood, silence. Silence in a man is often misread. Many assume silence means emotional absence. But in reality, silence can be emotional processing. When a man becomes quiet, it is often because his internal world has become louder. His thoughts are active. His feelings are strong. His mind is trying to organize emotions he has not fully understood yet. And during this process, he withdraws from external expression so he can focus inward. This does not mean he stops caring. It means he is trying to understand how to care in the right way. Because he does not want to act impulsively. He does not want to say things he cannot maintain. He does not want to create emotional instability. So he slows down communication not to disconnect, but to avoid mistakes. This is why sometimes, after a period of silence, he returns more grounded, more stable, more certain, more intentional. Because that silence was not empty. It was formative. It was a process of internal alignment. And during that time, even if he is quiet, he is still connected. He still notices you. He still thinks about you. He still reacts emotionally to your presence, even if he does not express it immediately. Because emotional connection does not stop just because expression pauses. Now here is something very important. When a man is truly losing interest, he becomes emotionally unavailable in every sense. He does not check in. He does not observe. He does not engage. He slowly disappears from emotional involvement. But when a man is in love, even if he is overwhelmed, he stays emotionally tuned in. He notices your moods. He feels your distance. He reacts to your emotional shifts. Even if he does not always respond immediately, he is still mentally present. This emotional sensitivity is one of the strongest signs that his feelings are real. Because indifference does not react. Only emotional investment reacts. Now let's talk about the final and most important truth. When a man steps back while falling in love, it is not the beginning of loss. It is often the beginning of emotional formation. It is the stage where feelings are becoming serious enough that they require thought, structure, and clarity. It is the stage where emotion turns into intention, where attraction turns into consideration, where connection turns into responsibility. And during this stage, everything slows down, not because love is fading, but because love is becoming real enough to handle carefully. And when a man goes through this process, he does not always explain it. He does not always communicate it. But if you look closely, you will see the pattern. He may be quieter, but he is not gone. He may be distant, but he is not disconnected. He may be thinking, but he is still emotionally involved. And when he returns, he often returns differently. More stable. More clear. More intentional. Because he has taken the time to understand what he feels and what he wants to build. And that is the difference most people miss. One type of distance is the end of interest. And the other type of distance is the beginning of commitment. And the hardest part is that they can look almost the same from the outside, but they are completely different on the inside. So the next time a man becomes quiet, instead of immediately assuming he is leaving, understand that sometimes silence is not absence. Sometimes silence is processing. Sometimes silence is protection. And sometimes, silence is love trying to figure out how to stay. Because real love does not always move fast. Sometimes, it pauses, just to make sure it never loses its way.